Is there a safe place for a mom? Mom, what if there is a place for you where you don't have to protect or defend yourself from your past life? Or can you imagine a place where you don't have to worry about the future of your family, marriage, or even your career? Or could there be a place where you fear nothing? And if there is a place like that, and somebody give you a roadmap to get to that place, how fast will you run to get in that space? Hi, my name is Addie Bagashaw with Love to Be Great. Love to Be Great is an empowering talk about how to become and do the great things our mom are called to do at home and in the workplace. So let's go back to this what if question again. Is there a space for a mom like that? Could there be a place where we lose the sense of dread about our life circumstance and completely feel the love of God? Today, we will be exploring that space where you can experience success, love, peace, and joy. So whether you are a mom who believes in God or don't believe in God, I truly believe that as a mom, when it comes to managing our home and workplace, we are facing the same challenge and we are looking for the same answer. That is my observation. And this is my observation. We all want security. We all want peace. We want to have a prosperous life when it comes to our family life in all realms of life, not just in financially, in health and relationship. We want to prosper. We want to grow in that way. And also we want to have a safe community, right? That is what we want. And we want to do something great, right? It's incredible. We do have the same desire as a mom, whether you believe God or not. So that is what made me really curious to prepare in this topic. So if we are looking the same thing, is there a place? And then if there's a place, how do we access it? So last week, which was the second episode of Love to Be Great, I shared with you how I moved from stressful life to peaceful life. And then in that share, one of the things I mentioned was the only thing that really helped me to make that transition was the promise of God. And the promise of God, God taught me how to keep my promise. And the promise of God, God pushed out stress and brought himself, which he is a Prince of Peace, right? And then he introduced me to his presence. So today, we're going to be exploring what the presence of God means. And then could that be the place where we need to work from? Could that be the mindset that we need to have in order to overcome our challenges at home and in the workplace? So when we talk about God, God is enormous. He's big, right? God is big. And his presence can be expressed in many, many ways. But I can only share with you what I have experienced. So when number one, God's presence is always with us. He said, I will never leave you or abandon you. The truth is, it's just our awareness that really psych us out as if we are by ourselves. But if we are aware of his presence, then we're okay. So sometimes our feeling lie to us. Our emotion lie to us. Therefore, we assume God is not present with us So we kind of go our way and then do stuff. For example, when I am recording this video for you, my feeling was not working with me. But you know what? I don't work from my feeling. I work from my knowledge of his presence in me. Sometimes you don't feel like doing things, but that doesn't mean that you have to deny that is, the way that you should be going, or you can't really deny base God's presence based on our feeling. That's where I'm going with this. So going back to that, so God is always with us, but our awareness could be off. And when our awareness is off, and when we don't know his ways, sometimes the other problem is when we don't know his ways. Is this God or not? Is it me or God? There's like all kinds of confusion. And when there's no clarity how God works, then of course we get off track, and then we really do get misaligned. So number one, we need to be aware that God is with us regardless of what our feeling is. Number two, not knowing God's way could misalign us, but that doesn't mean that he is not there. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope so. So now let's talk about his presence. His presence. What I experienced from his presence is there's no condemnation. There's no guilt. All this negativity that our mind played, that is not from God. The presence of God doesn't bring that in. So what I experienced is no condemnation. So I didn't have to defend myself. I felt loved. In fact, I felt so loved. I felt this deep love where I brought all my problems and drain them in that love and come out on the other side free and peaceful. That is the presence of God, what I have experienced. So my challenge today for myself is not finding the presence of God. I know the space. I know there is a place as a mom where I could be whole and strong and feel all that amazing thing that I just mentioned in the beginning of this talk. There is a space, there is a safe place for mom where we could operate from. My challenge is, am I abiding in that, or am I going in and out? The misalignment things. That is my challenge. So here's another truth. Every mom who has really invited Jesus to her heart has access to the presence of God. She has a free access to the presence of God. And again, she can bring all her circumstance, and she can stay. When she encounters the presence of God, she definitely will be noticing it. She would know his presence. And I'm gonna mention what Moses did in Exodus. This is like my favorite story when I talk about the presence of God. And on Exodus 33, from verse 12 to 23, Moses asked a question. He said, well, as you may know, Moses was leading like 1 million people, right? And he's supposed to take these people to their promised land. Well, you and me might not have 1 million people, but we definitely have a responsibility to take one child or a family, lead a family, inspire a family, encourage a family to go to their promised land, right? As a family, we all have this destination or a dream where we want to be, the promised land. So we do have the same kind of deal. But Moses obviously has like, 1 million people, over 1 million people to take care of. But he asked this question, well, you told me to take this responsibility, but I am missing some details. How do I, who's going with me? What do I have? How is this going to happen? That's our question too. But the only thing God told him was, I'll be with you and everything will be fine. God was with him and everything was fine. But in the meantime, Moses asked another question. That is where I'm taking you. I think that's going to help us a lot. He said, okay, that's good. But I want to experience your presence. You said you'll be present. Well, God is a spirit. He's not like coming in person and like grab your hand and go. He is a spirit. So he shows up in your spirit and he speaks from inside out. So Moses asked, what is this glorious, what is like to experience this, his presence? He's talking with him, obviously, but he asked him, he's encountering, he's in his presence, but he said, I want to experience your glorious presence. So he's asking for the next level of presence, the next level of his experience with God. Show me your glorious presence. And what did God say to him? Let me just read it. I don't want to miss on this one. He said, okay, Moses asked to show him his glorious presence. And then on verse 19, he said, I would make all my goodness pass before you. That's all he said to him. Okay, he said, I'll show you my goodness, my presence, the glorious presence. But his answer is, I will make all my goodness pass before you, which tells us when the presence of God, when the glorious presence of God encounters you, it comes with goodness. So the presence of God, the glorious presence of God, is pregnant with goodness, is full of goodness. So what Moses did was he put his expectation on that. And then, well, if you read that, scripture before, the story, that his face started to shine and he was glowing from this glorious presence of God. His countenance changed, his mind changed, his attitude changed. He got upgraded. His life was taken, just his capacity increased. Isn't that amazing? Can you imagine as a mom? Isn't that what we're really like fighting for or like wanting more? We're short. Our capacity is like, everybody is like, pulling your your pants or your dress to get something out of you, and you barely have time for yourself, and you are tired, and you're saying, I don't have the capacity to carry all this responsibility. That's pretty much what we feel. But there is a presence of God that could absolutely increase our capacity to rule and reign and at home and in the workplace. And there is a way to do it. There is a way to do it. There's alignment that needs to take place in that place. And there is a way to do it. So I just want to put today in this episode, what I would love for you to learn is there is a place where you could feel free. You could feel no fear, where you don't have to worry about your future or even your career. But there is like alignment needs to be done, right? You need to know, you need to experience his presence. So there's an engagement. You have to, like Moses did, he just went and said, I have this responsibility, but I don't know how to do it. Are you going to help me? And if so, what should I expect? You can have a conversation with God like that. The same God never changed. And I want to encourage you, I want to invite you to have that conversation with God. So you can rule, you can be successful, so you can experience the goodness of God in his presence. Expectation is huge. There were like many times that I encountered, I go to my prayer, but I have like no expectation to receive anything. I was actually going with this guilt kind of, or I wasn't being good, so God is looking at me down today with that kind of attitude. And it's possible we could get in that space, but God is not like that. God he's not double-minded about who we are in Christ Jesus. We are his children. He loves us. So I want to encourage you, moms, to really get in the presence of God. Let the goodness of God, let the presence of God show you the goodness of God. Let you experience what that is like to be in his presence, and then experience it for yourself. Because once you experience it, nobody can take that away from you. I mean, I can share with you like what I have experienced is mine, and what you experience will be yours, and nobody can take you. And then when you need to increase, we all need to increase our capacity because our dream is big. Where would you get? I mean, and the sad thing is everybody's looking outside externally, but God is in our heart. He's in us and we are in him. And you can have that conversation at home and then increase your capacity by encountering the presence of God. This is a real deal. It happens. I'm here because of that. So if you haven't heard last episode, I also want to encourage you to really dive into that, because it's kind of connected. So it's going to help you to really go, forward to connect the dot. So I would love for you to go and check it out. And there's a few links that below this video. I would love for you to check that out. And one more thing I want to encourage you is subscribe it, share it with the mom. And next week, I do have a new announcement that the Lord has been putting in my heart. And I'll be really announcing it. So if you are interested to be notified the date and some details about that, I will leave a link below. It's going to be under special announcement. And then you can leave me your contact and you will be informed with that. Well, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.